Take one.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I've got Nick with me today. I'm your host, Ryan. I've got Jake and Chad as well. Today, we're going to chat about some brands, what's working, what's not working, and let's get social. Okay. I like that one better.
Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
I'm glad we did that.
Yeah. All right. So in the office, we've been talking about some brands that aren't doing as well as other brands, very specifically from a branding standpoint. And what that means to us has kind of been up to interpretation. So we're going to get right to it and start chatting about it. One industry that came up earlier was bowling alleys. There's some bowling alleys that are independently owned. They've been passed down from generation to generation. And the new owners may or may not have the same drive that the forefathers of the bowling alley had. But from a branding standpoint, we really felt like, as an industry, that was kind of one that was lacking. What are you guys' thoughts?
Who here goes bowling?
I do.
Do you go bowling?
Love
Yeah.
bowling.
Yeah.
You love
Yeah.
bowling. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. I guess
Yeah.
I'm the only person here that does not bowl.
You
Yeah.
should bowl. I bet
So there
you
you
would
go.
actually really like bowling.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know how good you'd be at it if it's anything
I
like your
mean,
ping pong.
Yeah,
but,
I'm not very good at ping pong, bowling. You know, it's kind of cut from the same cloth. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, here locally, it seems that there's one name, and it's Polking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then, but other than that, there is nobody else. So,
Well-
but there are other bowling alleys, but they are independent. But there's like what, 5 maybe Polking lanes around here. You type in bowling, it's Polking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So they've done a really good job with the branding, but their competitors, do we agree that the branding is the biggest issue with everybody else?
I couldn't even tell you another bowling alley around here.
Yeah, I don't know any of their names. Polking's the only one that I know.
And do you know that because you started going there when you were younger, or is that something that, for instance, how many people do you feel that polking is getting in that are new customers? You know, people know of bowling alleys. They know of polking because that might be the only one around here. Are they going because they just know of it, or are they going, or is polking actually attracting
Well,
new customers?
Polking used to just be one bowling alley, and then they started buying them up around Dayton. So, but
Little
since
history
then,
fun fact for you.
there you go.
There you go.
But you still have some local bowling alleys that are independently owned. But when it comes to Saturday night, hey, let's do something. Okay, let's go bowling. Well, where do we want to go? Polking's the ones
The
that
name that you've
are the
heard.
ones that show up. Yeah, it's the one that's been around here my entire life.
Right.
Now, if you do a Google search for bowling,
Mhm.
I gotta imagine that they pop up.
They do. They're the first to pop up
Okay.
anywhere around Dayton. So, but then you've even gotten, Beaver Creek may have one. I don't think it's a
Beaverview.
Polking. I think it's Beaverview Bowling. I know that because I'm from here, but that doesn't show up on my Google when I search it.
So do you think from a business standpoint, even though polking has a bigger reach, you think maybe that's contributed to their better branding just from a geolocation standpoint?
Absolutely.
Okay. So would you drive an extra 5 miles to go to a different bowling lane if you had a better experience with it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even bowl, and I would do that. So.
I would actually go to whatever's closest. It's bowling. I mean,
Okay,
Yeah.
so
for me,
that's
whatever's
like-
closest, I'm
So
down
on
on
the,
bowling.
on the flip side, so bowling, that's more of a fun experience. Okay, what about gyms? So gyms are huge when it comes to geolocation, where a lot of people will go to the nearest gym because they don't really want to drive that far away to work out. It's not really, it's kind of a hassle. But with bowling, I mean, as long as that particular bowling, place or alley rather, as long as they have a good experience, create a good experience. I mean, people would probably drive, an extra 5 miles or whatnot. I'm sure.
do you think that has to do with branding or just where your building ended up?
I would say it's a little bit of both. I mean, if you have one bowling alley that's drastically superior or offer different events or has a completely different feel that you've never really had going into a bowling alley, and it's not that much farther away, I don't see why people wouldn't go there. So
A
that's
lot of
where
times
marketing
for
might
me,
come into play.
like businesses like that, like any type of fitness place or a bowling alley or anything like that. A lot of times, I think cost is what I look at.
I think with gyms, cost is a huge
Gyms is-
factor.
Yeah,
Um, Distance is another factor, like he had said,
Yeah,
and
I feel
a
like,
reputation.
to me, anyways, I feel like cost is more of a factor personally. Like, I mean, gyms are pretty expensive anyways. So I don't think I would go to the closest one if it was going to cost me more to go to
Right.
that one. I would rather take a little more of a drive or just work out at home.
Okay, so we're getting into a good conversation here. So the top
Yeah.
3 things that you'd look for when, I guess shopping with a business or going somewhere to spend your money, you're looking at cost, distance, and then, experience or reputation or
Yeah.
branding and such. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that makes a lot of sense from people who don't actively participate in gyms or actively participate in bowling from our panel up here.
Right.
However, someone who is an expert bowler or a person who dedicates their entire life to fitness,
Right.
they're going to have a completely different perspective
Absolutely.
on that shopping list of those people. So
Yeah,
For
thinking
some-
about that subject, with bowling alleys, like I've been to a lot of different bowling alleys, and
That sounds about right.
Polking has always been like the cleanest,
okay,
and their alleys are always like fixed, like they're not.
well kept.
Yeah, they're well kept. They're always waxed and
Mhm.
everything. And then you go to some of these smaller ones. A lot of times they're kind of cruddy. You go in there, they're pretty sketchy. The lanes are not waxed.
Some aren't even open.
Some aren't even open.
Right.
So I feel like, if you were to go to a gym and the gym was a pretty sketchy place, I probably wouldn't want to be there. I'd rather go to a bigger gym that's going to be kept up. Their machines are going to be working. It's going to be clean.
So on the flip side of that, so with somebody who actually does enjoy working out and distance is a huge thing, I've gone to quite a few local gyms that have been kind of cruddy, if you will, not very well kept, and that didn't bother me as much. But so what you're saying is that having a good brand or I guess upkeep, and then I guess visual experience, if you will, it means a lot to you. That's
I
what
would
you're
say
getting
so.
at.
I would say so.
Some devil's advocate, food for thought. So you had mentioned going to gyms. Some of them are dirty. Look at P90X. This guy's in a warehouse scenario. He's got bars on the wall and lunkheads walking around. I mean, that could be the branding of a very specific gym. Just because it doesn't
Right.
appeal to everybody doesn't mean that can't be a part of their brand. Like, hey, this
Their
is where you
niche.
go to get ripped.
Right.
Yep.
If you want to get shredded, you come to this basement in a bad area of town. And this is where we go to.
If some guy told me to come into his basement, I can't say that I would.
Even if he
I
promised
agree.
you'd get shredded,
All right, then I'd
You
think
could
about
also
it. Yeah.
promise me candy,
But
but I
if-
still probably
I would go if there was candy.
Yeah,
Right.
candy gets involved or popsicles, I might be game.
Okay.
But one thing that I was going to say with the whole P90X or something like that was created so you didn't have to go to the gym, which is
Yeah.
even cooler because that way you don't have to spend the money monthly to keep going to a gym over and over and over. You can do it at home.
I think that's still, again, part of the branding aspect of it is the
Right.
people who don't want to drive. That appeals to them. They still like maybe the grungy atmosphere
Right.
of getting shredded in a basement with possible candy included. I don't know.
Exactly.
But
since that makes sense.
makes sense. On topic, right? So you have that. Maybe, it sounds like these different places may appeal to different characters better. So if everybody's the clean gym, then what's the differentiator?
Right.
What makes them special? And that's what makes
It's the
brands
value.
interesting.
So
Value.
so right now we've done bowling alleys and gyms,
Mhm.
both of which are for sporty, somewhat people. What's a place that's not? Think of what's somewhere even that, say a retailer or something that do people just go to? Like for example, Walmart. Do people just go to Walmart because it's local? Because of
Absolutely not.
even though it can be grungy, or you get your Walmart people.
So I have a perfect example.
I want to hear
So when you're in high school, right, what are the popular clothes? At least when I was in high school, which was forever ago, but maybe not as the same as you, old timer. But Hollister and Abercrombie were huge. The clothes weren't any different in reality to a lot of other stores. They just weren't.
In the 90s.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
When Chad and I were
Yeah.
kids,
Let's hear
were
it from the old
kids,
timers.
we went to the thrift store
Yeah.
because that's what was cool. The
And-
old clothes, the grungy clothes, the
Interesting.
$2 shirts.
Holy jeans were very
Interesting.
popular. That actually became a big hit with the later generations, where they would have jeans with holes,
Yeah,
Pre-put
I
in
had
them.
quite a few actually from Hollister.
T-shirts. Yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, it was usually cheap clothes, and that was the cool thing back then.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
There was also name brands too.
Yeah, I mean, we
that
had
people
our
purchased.
Abercrombie was very new.
But even
when
the
we
thrift
were-
store, okay, that was still kind of a brand. You were creating an image for yourself based
Absolutely.
on, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so in my opinion, when it comes to retail, it depends on your niche market. But with retail, for instance, I don't think that distance is the huge factor unless maybe you're going to the grocery store. But as a clothing store or something of that sort, you'll drive that extra mile to make sure that you get the clothes that you want to wear based on the branding and image that that company has established, you know. So I feel like that maybe it depends on your market as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But what about a place like Walmart? That's people go there. Million
think-
people go there a day.
I think they go there. There's a convenience factor.
Yeah,
It's got just about everything,
and it's
Exactly.
close.
Yeah.
and it's nearby.
I mean, it just seems like every Walmart is. You go to any town, you get off at any exit on the interstate. There's a Walmart.
Walmart has consistency too.
Mhm.
I can go to a Walmart in Florida and have generally the same,
Same
experience
Yes, sir.
in that Walmart, and I know what to expect when I go there.
Which is branding as well.
101.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also know them to be already a good company, so you like they keep up of it. You're gonna go in there. It's gonna be a kept up place. It's not gonna be shady. Some of them may
Yeah.
be shady.
I was
But-
gonna say, and
yeah.
I honestly, growing up here and being from kind of the smaller towns, you know, I don't know that they have the positive vibe that you're talking about. It's just the fact that it's easy to get to. But you know, most local small towns like even this, you know, you put every mom and pop store out of business by putting a Walmart in your town.
Now, is
Oh,
there
yeah.
something the mom and pop store could have done with their branding to even let them compete?
Lower prices, I guess.
Is that really
I
what
don't-
people
I
would
don't
want from
know.
them? Because
Yeah.
the International Grocers Association, the IGA, those guys had pooled together to bulk buy groceries and distribute it amongst each of them so they could lower the prices of groceries.
Right.
So they could compete with those places. But from a branding perspective, creating a better experience, Dorothy Lane Market,
Yes.
perfect example. Dorothy
Yeah.
Lane Market is a local, like farm to table grocer.
Yeah.
They feature organic stuff. They have very high end niche products that they sell, and they sell it at a very high price.
Mhm.
So price and convenience are almost out the window, to be honest, because there's only a few locations of them. They're always very busy, but they have a very good product,
Yes.
and they have very high price tags that go with that. So competing on low price doesn't fit within their brand. I think if you found a deal on something there, you might question it.
Right. I would have to agree with you there.
Whereas Walmart, I know if I'm not getting a low price, I mean, that could be the driver of the conversation. You know, do I want to put, you know, fresh fish on my plate for dinner, or am I okay with, you know, some,
Some tilapia from Walmart.
yeah.
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 Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Do you want the steak or do you want the sirloin type of deal?
I like sirloin. But
I like them both, but that's what I mean. Is I like Walmart just fine for the low prices and what I'm going there for. But then I also like to have the experience at Dorothy Lane Market or something such as that, so I can get the steak, get
Right.
that nice experience. So maybe it's all like a balancing act. So are you going to go after this type of branding, if you will, or are you going to go after something like this? And then you
Yeah.
find the middle ground. So you might have a lot higher prices, but you have that great experience.
Right.
You might not have as good of a experience,
but
but
you
you
have
have really
prices.
low prices.
Right.
So maybe it's finding that area.
So, again, interesting thought with that. So, from a business perspective, Dorothy Lane has fewer shops, fewer employees to take care of,
Yep.
charges top dollar for everything that they have, but they probably have a very stringent process for making sure that they carry the very best of the best, have the best product, best food, which probably comes at its own cost. But which company do you think makes more money on a one-to-one scale? I mean, Walmart to them is an impossible number,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
from the size of it. But if you were going to look at one Walmart store to one Dorothy Lane store, who do you think actually profits more?
I would have to say Dorothy Lane. My main reason behind that would be the amount of product that Dorothy Lane sells versus Walmart of how much just sits on the shelf.
It's a good variable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily thought of that. It's a
Um,
good variable.
And also, I mean, the customer experience at Dorothy Lane, I mean, if you have a problem there, it's taken care of right away. They're very professional about everything. I've only been there a handful of times, and every time I've walked out of there, I'm like, wow, this is a great place. Like,
Yeah.
people, I mean, the customers may not be as, I don't even want to say friendly as you can even run into at Walmart, but the atmosphere and the professionalism of the employees is far and beyond. Compared to you go to Walmart, well, you're just another person. You walk into Walmart and you get in line to return something. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are at Walmart. No, it's not like it's a
The employees
atmosphere.
there are there just to get paid
and then go
yeah,
home.
Yeah, and go home,
Yeah.
and that's it. So,
And that's their brand. I mean, that
Yeah.
is part
and
of.
you know that going in.
Yeah,
You do.
Yeah.
you do.
So what about an in-betweener like Kroger's? Kroger's is a grocery store chain,
Mm-hmm.
very popular around here. They do offer high-quality food, but they're bigger than a Dorothy Lane Market, and they do have better pricing at that point. So they seem to find some middle ground, but even recently they've been molding into carrying more and more items like clothing, like a
Yes.
Myers or a Walmart, or beach pails and toy guns and stuff for kids. And
Kroger has evolved considerably in the past 10 years. I mean, these super
Yeah.
Kroger centers, I mean, you've got gas, you've got clothes, you've got everything that they have at anywhere else is there.
Yeah.
But the pricing is higher.
But what's nice about Kroger is they're, in regards to branding, is that not only are they kind of transforming themselves into the overall convenience store, the one shop,
You can get
stop.
everything.
You can get everything, which is what Myers does,
Mhm.
what Walmart does, and so forth. But they're also creating a good experience. You know why? They're having bars now.
Yes,
They're
they do. They
um,
serve alcohol.
restaurants,
Starbucks.
Starbucks. So
Yeah.
it's they're latching themselves onto convenience and experience,
Right.
which is that middle.
Actually, to go back to what we were talking about, to me, Kroger's actually the closest to me. So where do I shop?
You go to Kroger.
I go to Kroger.
Yeah, same
Even
thing
though
for me.
It is a little more expensive. So it does kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
It's the convenience of it, at least for me, where it's located. Like, I would much rather just go there, get my stuff, and
Where I actually live, there's a Walmart that is much closer than Kroger, and I actually drive all the way to Kroger because of the experience.
there you
So,
go.
so there's
a
different
little bit-
variables,
A little bit
Mm.
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
you just happen to be lucky.
Yeah.
Well, and so we were talking about Dorothy Lane. Now we've talked about Walmart, and we've talked about Kroger, which is kind of becoming right in the middle of a Walmart and a Dorothy Lane. I mean, they're going after everything.
Do you think that they took, the good branding aspects, experiences of, that smaller, higher quality place?
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, one thing that drives me nuts is anytime I go into a gigantic box store who I know is low price or budgeted, the shopping carts. The caster wheels
Oh, yeah.
Squeaky.
are always broken.
Yeah.
Like on sideways.
Right.
Like I might as well drag this thing,
Right.
with a rope through the store. Kroger's has very nice ones, and
Always
they
does.
clean them frequently,
Mhm.
which I learned about a few years ago from a company who supplies to Kroger's
Okay.
that we had worked with, and I was very impressed by that. What about Target? Now that we're talking about caster wheels on stuff, Target's swivel wheels and your ability to maneuver the store. I genuinely feel like that's a part of their branding. They're the only ones that have free rolling shopping carts for moving them around in convenience.
I believe I read an article.
Didn't even know that, so that is
I
brand new.
believe I believe I read an article that it specifically Target, maybe the CEO or whomever it was, some big timer in Target actually said that is part of their branding. That they are purposely the ones who do that for that reason. Something as small as that can still be part of your brand.
Yeah, I can't think about a Target without thinking about their caster wheels. And probably the fantastic company that created them.
I don't think I've ever gone to a Target and actually was buying anything worth having
Cart.
a cart. So
Well, and so,
I don't think I've ever even
but what
had
is
that
Target?
experience.
Target is more of a high-end Walmart. I mean, they've got the same things
No,
because they do.
I think that's a pretty
That's
fair
the only thing
assessment.
I can say about it because
Yeah.
almost every town that has a Target within a mile or two has a Walmart. So
okay. So
you know.
compare
That's true.
Target to Kmart at that point.
Kmart doesn't exist anymore.
There's a Kmart in Springboro.
There
There's,
It
there
actually
won't
just closed.
be in
Or it's closing. Or
Yeah.
just closed.
Walmart's or Kmart's.
Venue.
They're done.
Venue.
So give another, but yes, okay. Kmart
If
to
they're out of
Target.
business, is this a branding problem or is this a supplier problem? I'm sure there's a
I-
lot of problems, but I liked
definitely-
Kmart.
Yeah, Kmart didn't. I don't think Kmart stuck with, or they. I hate to say this. Kmart kind of reminds me of BlackBerry. They were the kings of that niche
And then
forever,
they just
and then they
stopped pushing.
stayed there,
Yeah.
and then they didn't keep pushing higher and higher.
Yep.
And where's
I think
where's
that's a
BlackBerry right now,
Super
and where's
good
Kmart?
analogy. Yeah.
They thought they were the kings, and then they didn't keep
They
progressing.
didn't keep innovating. They didn't continue their branding. They didn't continue to, I guess, establish themselves as the leaders. You know, people get bored very easily, so you have to stay on top of trends and constantly refresh and become better. You know,
So, I mean, in retrospective, what do you guys feel like we've covered here today?
Well, I think we
We've
talked about
talked about a lot, so I was
Yeah.
going to try. I was going
I
to
think
try.
we talked about different industries, different brands,
Yeah.
what works for them, what doesn't, and kind of the bits and pieces of consumer experience that goes into those brands.
so what's your main takeaway from all this? You want to start?
Yeah. I mean, my main takeaway is a lot of is public perception of what you sell, who you are, is what's going to drive people into your store or into your industry. It's not just about location. I'd say that's pretty much it. I mean,
I would say there's a lot of different variables when it comes to whether somebody's going to do business with you or somebody else. So there's, the experience, there's convenience, there's location or distance. But I can tell you, if you have a good brand in place that covers all of those things, you'd be the king.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I definitely feel like the brand that we've talked about for a lot of these places is what people have put into it. So, just in closing, we talked about Target real quick. They have that unique experience with the wheels on the cart.
Right.
It seems like a very small piece, but still, that's a something additional or different that you did with your brand or your product or your experience inside of the store that made people feel something about the brand that maybe makes you want to go back next time. Too. So I think, we say brands, but really what you do, how you behave and react to things and participate in your customer's experience is going to be what builds the brand.
Well said.
I think what I'm taking from this is I just think I'm gonna go
bowling.
and pay a lot
Yeah, just go
more
bowling.
attention to just the small details that businesses put into their companies just to give you that slight, I don't know, good feeling, like the wheels. Who thinks of the wheels besides Ryan?
All
I
those
would,
little things
I
can
would
make a difference.
never thought of it.
You have a bad wheel experience in a
It
place,
changes everything.
It is
and you
true.
appreciate the
That
great
really
wheel experience.
does change your whole experience when you have a bad cart.
Mhm.
And you're sitting there and the whole time it's just making that. Yeah. Or worse.
Yeah.
And half the time, it's halfway through your shopping
And- I'll
experience.
tell you,
Yeah.
when people look at you
Yeah.
like you're the problem,
Yeah.
like you're the one
Yeah.
who
Well,
picked the bad
you're the one
cart.
that said you're like, I want a bad cart. I'm gonna walk
I
around with a
always
bad
end up
cart.
with- I always end up with that cart that wants to
Oh,
go
To the left?
to
Yeah.
the left,
Oh, yeah.
so someone's next to you, and you're just all of a sudden, you
Yep.
know.
So basically, long
It's
story
like a
short,
bad lawnmower.
So basically, long story short, Target's doing really well. Way to go, Target.
I think Target's doing okay.
Just because of their wheels.
Just the shopping
Just
carts.
the shopping carts. Way to go, Target.
Yeah. Gender neutrality, whatever aside.
Yeah. Target wins with the wheels.
All right.
There you go.
Cool. Well, thanks for spending some time with us, folks. Hope you got something out of the conversation. I know that it sounds like each one of us here had as well. Please comment below. Send us email questions or comments or your thoughts or feedback on our topics to any of our social media outlets. And we look forward to seeing you next time.